My name is Rabia, and today I'm going to tell you a story. But the story isn't mine, it's of a hospital chaplain. She shares her experience of a patient who was having a panic attack. Now, this patient was screaming and crying, unable to breathe, in a state of complete anxiety, agitation. There were other nurses and staff at the scene trying to help this patient out. Anything to get her to breathe, but nothing seemed to be helping. Not until the chaplain stepped in. Without the use of words, the chaplain knelt down to the level of the patient and asked permission to place her hands over the patient's heart. After gaining consent, she went ahead and did so, and she then asked the patient to place her hands over the chaplain's heart. They then sat there in silence, listening to each other's heartbeats, making eye contact, in a state of complete presence with one another. Within just a few moments, the patient began to calm down and was able to breathe again. And all the other nurses and staff that had gathered at the scene were allowed to be dispersed. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the art of co-regulation. Historically, the concept of co-regulation has been around for about 1400 years and was taught to the world by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, a man whom modern historians will classify to be at the top of the list of the most influential figures in human history. But what is it that made these interactions so transformative? What is it that made his presence so influential to those around him and to the world at large? From a basic study of his communication style, it can be said to be grounded in two main concepts: love and connection, honoring the emotions of others, making them feel worthy and loved, and valuing and dignifying each and every human soul. So much so that each person in his presence felt as if they were the most important person to him. This is exactly what we aim to reach through co-regulation. Academically, the term co-regulation can be defined as the continuous unfolding of individual action that is susceptible to being modified by the changing actions of the partner. But that's just a textbook definition. What does it mean for you and I? What does it mean for us on a day-to-day basis as working professionals, students, members of our families, friend groups, communities, and even societies at large? What it basically means is that our internal states are highly interdependent on one another. And by being just a little bit more intentional and aware of these states when we interact with those around us can make the biggest difference. Scientifically, there's been a lot of research done on the concept of mirror neurons, especially in the world of psychological and neurological sciences. And what it's basically found is that when we witness someone else performing an activity that is similar to an activity we ourselves are performing or have performed, certain neurons fire in our brains and connect these experiences together. The famous poet Rumi once said that the beauty you see in others is a reflection of the beauty within you. Essentially, that our internal states directly and indirectly impact our perception of the external reality. And so it can be said then that the concept of mirror neurons applies to emotions too at some level, because our internal and external states very well do mirror one another, whether it be through people, places, or even animals. For example, have you ever wondered why sitting in front of the ocean, listening to the sound of the waves, helps you to feel better? Just take a look at that picture right there and tell me you don't feel instantly at peace. By mirroring the ocean, which is a regulated system of nature, a body of water, it allows any dysregulation that we may have in our systems to heal. And immediately, we begin to feel feelings of calmness, peace, and tranquility. The same concept applies now to our furry friends, our cats and dogs, our lovely household pets. When we're not having such a good day, we go and cuddle with. And within an instant, we begin to feel better. Similarly, chaplains, therapists, hospital staff, friends, and other caregivers allow us to co-regulate in this same manner, except that these are people. There's been a lot of research done on the benefits of receiving care, and there's been many interesting findings. But one of the most important and shocking ones is that the presence of an emotional caregiver in one's life ties directly to the faster healing of physical wounds. For example, a study looked at post-surgery recovery times, and what it found was that the individuals who had the presence of a significant emotional caregiver in their lives were more likely to display faster healing times and were also able to be dispatched from the hospital at a quicker rate. Another study looked at chronic wounds, and it found that the individuals who lacked the presence of significant emotional support were more likely to be in the delayed healing group. So we know now the strength and the importance of the mind-body connection. And we've known this for some time now. But newer research is particularly emphasizing the importance of having a non-anxious, witnessing, and validating presence in one's life, and how this is tied directly to better physical health outcomes. This includes better immunity, higher life satisfaction, and overall well-being. It's wonderful being on the receiving end of emotional support. It's great, but aside from just doing an act of charity or a good deed, why should we actively strive to seek out situations in which we are the ones providing the care? You see, the interesting thing is that research has found immense benefits to being in this position, which is precisely why we should do so. At the core of co-regulation lies connection. And in order for there to be connection, there must be empathy, putting yourself into someone else's shoes. Now, when you put yourself into the emotional experience of another, you share that experience with them. When you allow someone the comfort and the attention to fully be present in their own emotion, you too experience that emotion at some level. In the science of self-compassion, a recently emerging field that has stemmed out of the psychological sciences, it is commonly said to talk to yourself as if you would talk to a friend. Well, the underlying assumption then is that you know how to talk to a friend and you know how to do it well. And the better you get at it, the better you will be at managing your own emotions. The wise have always said that if you want to change the world, learn to change yourself first. If you want to master the world, learn to master yourself first. And research has found that by practicing the art of co-regulation, we increase our levels of self-awareness, and thus are better able to spot our own blind spots and areas of improvement. When you allow yourself to fully experience an emotion, you bring yourself to the present. You become what they call ibn al-waqt, which means child of the moment. And this leads to higher levels of happiness, because happiness is an emotion that is in the present. It is in the now. Psychologists at Harvard University conducted a study in which they looked at individuals perform a number of different activities, and they monitored their thought process throughout. And what they found was that the individuals who were reminiscing, thinking about the past or the future, even when there were good thoughts, were more likely to be miserable, as compared to those who were mindful of the moment. Oftentimes, we're either caught up with anxiety about the future or overthinking and grief from the past. But it is truly by freeing from both of these and being present in each and every moment that allows us to fully experience happiness. These are just some of the findings, but research has found co-regulation essentially rewires our brain, encourages creativity, and improves not only our personal relationships, but also those in professional settings, such as the workplace and school. Leadership skills, time management, detail orientation, innovation, confidence, and overall productivity all go way up as a result of practicing co-regulation. So clearly now, this is something that you want to be applying to your day-to-day interactions. But how? How do we successfully co-regulate? Now, it's important to note that as with any art, the art of co-regulation too takes time to master. But over time, with practice, we can continue to improve and get better. When people open up to us, one thing that we commonly tend to do is we doze off. Now, I'm sure we all do this. We may seem like we're paying attention, we're nodding and smiling, but in reality, we're thinking about something else, such as what we're gonna eat next, or what this person is dressed like, or even how we're going to respond to this person, instead of actually listening and paying attention to what it is that they're saying. At the core of co-regulation, once again, is connection. The connection between two hearts. And this can only be reached through presence, a concept known as hudur, which means to act with such presence as if your heart is placed where your feet are at, and to listen with the heart. I know that when we think of listening, thinking, and making sense of words, oftentimes we think of the brain. But newer research is finding that the initiation of the heartbeat is generated not by the nervous system, but by the heart itself. This is why they say that when two people fall in love, their heartbeats sync with one another. But this concept can totally be applied into non-romantic context with our other loved ones and those we care about. So clearly now, being internally present makes up a big chunk of co-regulation. But externally signaling this presence or this hudur is just as necessary. It's crucial that when we talk to people, we make them feel valued and important. And this can be done through little ways that have big impacts. For example, turning your body and fully facing someone when you speak to them. Signaling effective body posture and using gestures, making meaningful eye contact, giving them the time they need and not being in a rush, and using physical touch in ways that are appropriate. Again, I know these sound like little ways, but research has found their impacts to be massive. For example, there was a study in which researchers intentionally left a quarter at a payphone. And they waited for subjects to finish using the payphone and then asked them if they had seen this quarter. Now, the quarter was placed in a very obvious positioning. You couldn't miss it, even if you tried. But what the results found were that when the person asking the question placed their hand over the subject's arm while asking it, they were more likely to tell the truth. This shows that physical touch can very well incite connection in deeper ways than words. But words are also important. And when people open up to us, another thing that we commonly tend to do is jump in and offer our own solutions. Things like, why don't you try this? I heard it worked for so-and-so. Or, just stop making it such a big deal and it'll go away. Unfortunately, most of the times, this is not at all helpful, if not destructive. The next time someone opens up to you, try asking the question, are you looking for solutions or comfort? Because you'd be surprised that most of the time, people already have their solutions. They already know the answers. And all they're looking for is someone to witness their state, validate their emotions, and provide comfort. This is why they say that if you listen to someone, they'll tell you what's wrong with them. But if you listen long enough, they'll tell you how to fix it. We want to be the person that supports, cushions, and aids people in their own journeys to finding their solutions, instead of imposing ours. And aside from just active listening, the other way that we can do this is by asking the right questions. When someone is talking to you, show that you care. Ask questions. Repeat back to them the information they just told you and ask them if that's how they truly feel. Questions like, what do you think this taught you? How do you think you're growing from this? What did this make you feel like? How are you feeling about it now? Questions that allow individuals to make meaning of their own, on their own. So that's the gist of connection. But what about the other half of co-regulation? What about love? Love should be at the core of all of your interactions. Treat people as if you see the good shining from within them, no matter who they are. Stay away from clever phrases that make others feel inferior or self-conscious, and from putting up this image of being too busy or important for those around us. Keep it real. Refrain from talking about people behind their back, backbiting, gossiping, commenting on physical appearances, and other areas in which we may not have any beneficial insight to offer. Through your words and your actions, show that you genuinely care. Show gratitude. Thank the people around you and do it often. Tell those you love that you love them. Give more hugs. Give smiles at strangers more often, and buy more gifts. This world is desperately in need of love, and through our little interactions, we can make a big difference. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the art of co-regulation. And over time, with practice, you will continue to improve. Eventually, I promise you that this practice is going to change your life. Connection heals. And when you allow yourself to fully witness others, you are also allowing yourself to witness your own truest being. Thank you.